You won't need to flip the map upside down to appreciate this one. Australia's latest entry into the iRacing selection of racetracks is one of their most popular street circuits. It's time for some fun in Adelaide as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Porsche Owners Club Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Alex Goldschmidt. Behind the scenes is our director Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. With this track being so new to the sim, why don't we step aside to check it out with our GSRC track guide. Welcome to Adelaide Street Circuit. This well-loved venue has had an off-and-on history, but one steeped in classic moments between F1 and Australian supercars. At 2 miles in length, or roughly 3.2 kilometers, it's a short but frantic blast around the city streets and on a purpose-built section in Victoria Park. Since 1985, the tight confines have tested many great names in racing. Sections such as the Senna Chicane need an aggressive approach to find speed in your lap time. But the notorious Turn 8 kink is what most often catches out drivers, with no runoff to save you if you lack precision. That quick blast leads you along the Brabham Straight down into the Duquetteville hairpin, which is the most popular spot to try to make an overtake. Like many street courses, those passes are hard to come by though. Track position is king here, but it does not rule out the ever-present threat of mistakes costing you more than just a spot, but often simply a chance at seeing the finish. Memorize the 14 turns, hit your marks, and steel yourself for the grueling task of completing the race. The popularity of this event has been reinforced with its frequent revival by the insistence of local fans. So there's little doubt it'll be here for many years to come. I'm excited for this one, Alex. It's my first time getting to call one of the races at this track on iRacing.
Adelaide, a true Aussie classic, of course, always opens up the Australian Repco Supercars Championship. Was the famed location of where a certain Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill made contacts for the Formula One Championship back in 1995. But yeah, it's tight, it's technical. You know, you've got to be brave on the brakes here as well, but we can see that this is going to be a true test for our drivers, as it's I think it's the first time for you and for me calling this one.
Certainly, and there you see some of the stats about it. Going to be a relatively short lap around here, but before we get to those laps in qualifying, one thing I do want to mention is our sponsors, which includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Top Gun MG, helping financial advisors be the best of the best. Contact them today at topgunmg.com. That's topgunmg.com. As for the championship situation, Dylan Scott takes back-to-back wins, really kicking his season into gear, and he is now up by 3 points over BJ Fulton. However, we were missing BJ Fulton last round, and BJ is back, and he's looking quick today, so we'll see if he can retake that points lead. Michael Bolton hovering close as top 3, only split by 6 points. This is looking good here, just halfway into the season. Dustin Heindel tied with Blake Sams, the newcomer, really making his stamp on this series. From there on down, top 10 all only separated by about 42 points between them, including 8th, 9th, and 10th, only 2 points apart. But with the standings out of the way, why don't we now take a look at today's race details. Alex?
So it's round 6 of 13, and the traditional 40 minutes around this particular circuit with the new generation Porsche 992.2 911 Cup car, Indianapolis-style rolling starts, and every driver has 2 spare cars at their disposal, but also with the 40 minutes, due to fuel limitation, there will be a pit stop.
And I wonder how much those pit stops will play a part in this, because it is a bit of a tricky pit entry. You talked about the 94 race, but honestly, my mind goes to the 95 race where David Coulthard discovered how much you need to focus on those pit entries.
Oh yes, he definitely harpooned it at a bit too much speed coming into the pit lane. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, folks, there is nowhere to hide here at Adelaide. And that just goes to show with the close proximity Of the walls as we ride along with Dylan Scott, the resident Australian, and of course a home circuit for him on this particular round of the series. But you can see as they go through effectively a very tight part of the circuit. Turn 8 normally can catch people out. You can pinball across the barriers. But he is currently running P2 behind the returning BJ Fulton. Blake Sam's back for this round. Of course, BJ and Blake not with us last time out at what was a very bumpy and very, very exciting affair at Sebring for round 5. We've got Rob Leclerc, Michael Bolton, Dustin Heindel, and then we've also got Mark Rondeau. We did have actually Mark's son in competition last week, just 14 years of age, and he actually gave good account of himself. Albeit, as we did find his mum putting in the chat, he's only 14 years old, and I said the word robustness when he was making some very, very lastminute.com overtakes. But still, Michael Bolton needs to improve here to go up from 5th position. That last lap, he's still got one opportunity to do so. 1 minute 20.577. Not as good as the 1:19.669 that he just did.
Yeah, there's only 2 cars out there. Make that 1, because I just saw Adam Abrams head into pit lane. So Michael Bolton can improve on this 5th place, but he needs nearly a second to get up to our pole. He only needs 1,000th of a second to reach Robert Leclerc and get onto the 2nd row of the grid. Is this going to be a fast enough lap is the real question here as he comes on down along Bartles Road into turn 8. You mentioned before, used to be blind. They've opened up the barrier a little bit, and he hits it nicely as he now slams on the brakes down into Dequetteville hairpin.
Yeah, so let's see if he can make a bit of an improvement over the opening sector. And when you think it is quite a short opening sector here at Adelaide, but more to the point, can he go quicker than his 1:19.669? And that is basically over 9 tenths slower than BJ Fulton, who is still on provisional pole. Bolton out of the final corner. To the line he goes, and across it. That's an improvement. 1 minute 19.234. That puts him on the inside of the 2nd row.
Wow, so that wound up being very important for him to finish that lap, as he is the last car, and that means our grid is now set. 15 drivers going to be taking part in round 6 today, which is plenty to keep them busy with it only being this 2-mile circuit. But we wait for that clock to hit 0 officially now that it just has to wrap up, and then we'll have the cars start to grid here today. I'm kind of wondering how many of those 2 spare cars our drivers are going to go through with this being such a punishing circuit.
It is going to be tough to see how big the rate of attrition is going to be, because sometimes it can be up in the air, sometimes it's quite prevalent, but it is a new circuit for everybody, so everyone's in the same boat here, Joe. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, and if you get it wrong, whoops is probably the least of what the person behind the wheel of the sim rig is going to say.
So a few choice words, no doubt, as BJ Fulton, like we said, managed to take that pole over Dylan Scott. Can he overtake the points leader at the end of the race, though? Michael Bolton will start from 3rd as Blake Sams will be P4. Then it's Robert Leclerc in the 5th spot and Dustin Heindel in P6. Mark Rondeau starts 7th today, followed by Christopher Marciniak in 8th, Mark Morales 9th, and the youngster Leiden Rondeau will start in the 10th position. Alex?
Yep, then we turn the page. Jim Garamani starts on the inside of row 6, and alongside him will be Alan Watts. Barry Haas starts from 13th, ahead of John Momare, with Adam Abrams being the last position on the grid, with everyone here at Adelaide setting a lap time in qualifying.
Glad to see that as well. We at least got one on the board for all the drivers. Hopefully it is representative of their pace. Otherwise, I think that's the other feature that we do need to touch on, is that track position is so important here. It's not going to be easy to pass despite a couple very sharp hairpins.
I completely agree there, Joe. I mean, also the rundown to turn 1 at the centre chicane and then heading into Wakefield Road is going to be very, very crucial, but it is a short formation here at Adelaide. So when the pace car pulls into pit road, it will be the run to green, and who can survive the opening few corners, because it is not going to be easy for these 40 minutes, as we are going to head down to the last few corners. But it is going to be the case of who can weather the storm here at Adelaide. New test, possible new dramas, who might come out on top on this one.
BJ Fulton will start on top. See if he can hold him off on that start of the race, that green flag down to the Senna chicane. As we come now into Victoria Park, where things open up just a little bit, not a lot. You can see those barriers are still right next to the track with just a little bit of grass to save you through this last portion. And then the safety car heads on into pit lane, giving control over to the 82. It'll go around the outside of the hairpin, which becomes the inside into the chicane. They have to wait for the call from Barney on the flag stand, which comes now. Green flag is out. We go racing at Adelaide for the first time in the POC. Down into the first corner. It's a strong braking from BJ Fulton, but he gets into the other side of the front row. Dylan Scott is sent into the barriers immediately, tries to get it going. Drivers are able to mostly avoid him. A few did run into him, and BJ Fulton has outbraked himself later on in the lap. Our front row are both gone, and we get a caution flag immediately.
Leiden Rondeau, Dylan Scott, Dustin Heidel, Cookie Monster also involved. It was a big drama. I mean, the thing was, going through into that center chicane, you've got those big curves on the outside coming through that left-hander, and Dylan Scott might have just been, it was the kind of, they were leaning on each other, so that's why there was that big moment. So let's have a look at the GSRC replay. So Dylan Scott goes to the outside, bang, there's the contact. BJ tags the left rear fender of Dylan, and he goes in at breakneck speed over 100 miles an hour, and bang, goes pinballing into Dustin Heidel and Leiden Rondeau. Leiden unfortunately had nowhere to go on that one.
That is a real shame. I think it looked like maybe a bit of that inside curb unsettled BJ's car a little bit, and that's what sent him into the side of Dylan Scott. Don't know if he still would have wound up with too much speed to try and make that work, as the safety car is now collecting the field and backing them up. For those that aren't familiar with this series, they have an automated system for these full course yellows. If enough incident points are collected on the first lap, then the yellow is automatically thrown. It's to prevent the field from getting too spread out. So this will allow some of them to get back in, but the bad news is for drivers like Leiden Rondeau, they are already a lap down.
And making it through the stormy start here at Adelaide here, Joe, it's Michael Bolton, who got a you said about track position being very crucial. For him, it was very crucial because he was right behind BJ Fulton, saw it unfold, and was able to react very quickly. Blake Sams and Rob Leclerc round out your top three ahead of Mark Morales, who started fourth. John Momayer has been the biggest gainer in this one. He's up to fifth in the number 12.
One thing this does do is it opens up the pit window pretty wide as well. So that will help free up some of the strategy, since they'll save more fuel behind the safety car. Now, what BJ Fulton will be hoping for is, since he stayed out and stayed on the lead lap, that he can somehow manage to fight his way back through the field, because Bolton sits third in the points coming into today. With him leading the race, he now has an open goal in front of him.
Yeah, and also, the thing is we've still got Dylan Scott, Dustin Heidel, Leiden Rondeau. I mean, Dylan was crabbing to a halt. I mean, that right side took a big hit, because as soon as he had that contact with BJ, it spun the car around. The right front corner took the brunt of the impact, but then you got this sort of like slingshot where the right rear came around, and it also took a big hit against the wall too at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of drivers probably had to take that extra car sitting in pit lane. We still have the lights on, so we'll go around for one more lap. Someone diving in there, and that is Leclerc, who seems to have maybe got a bit of damage that he now has to take repairs on. Thankfully, the spare car is immediate, So he'll just be in and back out, and he'll catch back up to the tail of the field. Unfortunately, you do have to select that intentionally and tick it on. And I think, and I fear, that Dylan Scott, Dustin Heindel, and Leiden Rondeau did not turn on that spare car, because they've been all sitting in that pit lane for about 4 minutes. We got another replay, Alex.
Yeah, and this is with Leiden Rondeau, and straight on into the barriers. Dustin Heindel unsighted, outbrakes himself, bang, and then we've got BJ Fulton using the escape road to keep out of harm's way. And as I did say before we went green, it's a new test and a new, everyone's in the same boat. And yeah, it's caught people out. They've had time to practice this circuit. We'll find out if that is the case in our post-race interview show, whether some of the drivers said, yeah, I only bought it this morning. Because that sometimes is the case when a circuit comes on, and some drivers think that, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. But with somewhere like Adelaide, it's a bit like Long Beach in a way, that it's very tight, walls are very, very close to your car, you've got hardly any runoff areas, and you've got to make the best of it, as Leiden Rondeau and Dylan Scott have both managed to come out of the pit lane. Leiden Rondeau was in there for 3 minutes and 51 seconds, Dylan Scott 4.25 minutes. Dustin Heindel, however, the Cookie Monster, still taking repair time.
And it looks like they've given a wave around for Leiden Rondeau, so he'll get back to the tail end of the field. I believe they should be coming in this lap. Yeah, it looks like the lights are out on the safety car, so he's going to have to really hustle to work on that one. But you're right that Scott and Heindel probably not going to be catching back up in time. In fact, well, Dylan Scott is back out there, but he's only just getting by the safety car. So yeah, he's effectively a lap down the way things are looking on this restart. That is a nightmare scenario for him. Here comes that safety car as Michael Bolton now leads them to the restart. Can he hold on to this win as they get ready to take off for the second time tonight? There is that green flag. Bolton going to be single file. Someone behind him absolutely jumping up the order. I think that's Chris Marciniak in the blue 35. He gets a couple spots. Not sure if that'll be investigated post-race for a jump start.
Yeah, sometimes it can be the case that someone gets a little bit eager on the loud pedal, Joe, but that means it's a bit of ahead of John Momayer and Alan Watts, as BJ Fulton has got right behind him Rob Leclerc, and I think that's Adam Abrams in the number 12. So yeah, again, it's just sort of gather yourself up, dust yourself off, and BJ Fulton, if he plays his cards right here at Adelaide, it's just a case of just picking them off, but having that patience, because this is a circuit that really truly needs to be respected.
Absolutely does, and you can see there that the 82 was just backing off a little bit. Some drivers brushing the outside wall. BJ's got to survive this, especially with the heavy braking down into the Decaturville hairpin. Somehow everybody comes out the other side, but it's going to get very narrow here, and they're going to have to mind themselves.
Rob Leclerc dives to the inside of BJ Fulton, maybe a little bit of a touch between the pairs, so BJ has to end up dropping down a position. Behind him he's got Adam Abrams, and looking at the gap, and old BJ Fulton decides, yeah, I don't want to be in any part of this whatsoever. I think he just thought, you know what, let's play the safe game. Let's just make sure that if I can get that pit stop out of the way early. But Mark Ron, no! Oh, that's a textbook copy of what we saw at the start between BJ Fulton and Dylan Scott. So Mark Rondeau around at turn 1 at the centre chicane. Rob Leclerc, though, on the charge. He's just got through for 7th ahead of Jim Garamani and Larry Haas. Great move there.
And Garamani was the one that Rondeau was trying to pass in that sequence, so he may have gotten a tiny bit of damage from that as well. Haas in 9th, up 4 spots. Definitely some drivers taking advantage of the incident at the start to gain a number of positions. Blake Sams, though, is not letting the leader of Michael Bolton get away as he gets a hit from behind. Blake Sams looking quick in the hairpin, apparently.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy job for either of these drivers, but Blake Sams at the moment will probably think, you know what, let me just stick with Michael for the remainder of this race, cover him off in the pit stop phases, because they will go very, very deep. Dylan Scott, in the meantime, who's still in 13th, is about 13.3 seconds behind Leiden Rondeau, and he just put in the fastest tour of the race so far, 1:19.798, as Bolton and Sams make their way down Wakefield Road into Wakefield Corner here at turn 3, and then it's the short shoots through East Terrace up to Flinders Street, Hutt Street, and then onto Bartels Road on the back straightaway. But Alan Watts in the Lando Norris tribute has made some good gains. He's up from 12, he's currently P6, and he's chasing down number 12, John Romeo, who rounds out the top 5. Their battle is about 0.8 of a second apart, and then about a second up the road is Chris Marciniak in the 35 for P4.
You know, now initially I was with you that I thought BJ Fulton's move into pit lane for an early pit stop was the right call. But I noticed that he was only in there for 1.1 seconds, which to me says he just took a spare car and didn't actually get the fuel that he would need, which if that's the case, then he's still got to give us another pit stop later.
Yeah, I think probably what BJ's decided to do is get rid of any damage possible. So that might have been his decision, which I can understand and completely appreciate, because he might have taken a little bit of contact in that instant that we saw just a moment ago with, I think it was with
Dylan Scott.
Dylan Scott. And then also there was a secondary impact with regards to Rob Leclerc, because there was a little bit of a touch when Rob decided to send it up the inside. So you're really at this circuit here at Adelaide, you want the car to have all 4 corners on it and not a damage on any particular panel. So you want the car to be up to full strength, but despite the fact we've had a very, very interrupted first 10 minutes of the race, things are now starting to get into a bit of a rhythm here at Adelaide.
Still following Alan Watts as he chases on Momire and Marciniak. Momire up 9 spots. What a run it's been for him in these first few laps. But he's sandwiched between these two, so he's got to keep his eyes ahead and behind him. And that is Robert Leclerc just behind this group, so it's about to become a quartet instead of a trio here pretty soon.
Yeah, Rob was in the pits for a total of 32.1 seconds, so looks like he did take some fuel on board maybe, because with that full course yellow then, which ended up becoming a safety car, I think Rob has decided, you know what, let's get, I thought that might have been the case with BJ, but it seems like Robert has decided to employ that strategy, so he might have to be very, very tight on fuel within the last 10 minutes just to be on the safe side.
We saw at the top of the screen, Dylan Scott just set the fastest lap of the race. That's the good news. Bad news is he's currently a minute and 6 behind our leader, Michael Bolton. So he's going to have one heck of a run to close that gap in about 27 minutes' time. Larry Haas here in the meantime, just behind Jim Garamani as they go through the center chicane and down their way up to Wakefield Corner. He gets very close to the back of him. Not close enough to strike yet, though.
Yeah, but I think it's having that patience and just waiting for the opportunities to come your way rather than trying to force the issue here at Adelaide, because if anyone might remember last year's Repco Australia Supercars finale, where Chad Mostert won the title, despite Brock Feeney had led pretty much for the entirety of the season. And an incident at Adelaide meant that Brock Feeney did not win the title, despite the fact it was a case that he was going to do very, very well. And it actually happened at this particular circuit. So 1994, Schumacher and Hill. 2025, Feeney gets taken out by a teammate of Chaz Mostert, and Mostert ends up winning the thing. But we've got BJ Fulton's making his way up the order now. He's just done a 19.6 and has just got through on Adam Abrams. So BJ up to P10 now. Dylan Scott is absolutely flying at the minute. He's just a 19.55. And per lap, I mean, he's 3 seconds quicker than Leiden Rondeau. So Dylan Scott is definitely on the move. Adam Abrams' last lap was Adam Abrams' last lap, 26.2. A very, very slow lap. So Dylan Scott might find it's more a case of closing the gap rather than closing on drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just got to do the best he can, run his own pace, as we watch Larry Haas once again get right up to the rear bumper of Garamani. BJ Fulton arrives at the scene. This is the next duo. He's going to try and overtake. Big wheel spin coming onto Bartles Road by Larry Haas. And I fear that he may be susceptible to Fulton coming into the hairpin, but he has to back out to size up through turn 8. It's so blind through you can tell he needed a little bit of visual, but he's still close enough. He's going to get down to the inside, and that's one done.
Yeah, and that was a great lunge down in the braking zone of Raven straight into the Kedfill hairpin. As now we make our run through the tight final few corners before we head to Foster's at the final turn here at Adelaide, and BJ Fulton is on an absolute tear. I think he's going to have the opportunity going into the centre chicane, but Larry Haas, there is damage to the front of that Porsche, as we see Dylan Scott now getting through on Leiden Rondeau, but Mark Morales, who is running P3, and that has caused a bit of a concertina effect, and that is the number 12, John Momaya. The car is an absolute mess. Front hood has just exited stage left, there's no front bumper. John Momaya has just picked up a black flag, and well, Mark Morales, no surprise, black flag for him. He's in pit road, having run P3, starting 9th.
Both of them involved. That is the meatball flag that they've got, so they must take repairs. Kind of no surprise on that one. Leclerc now up to 3rd thanks to that, and Christopher Marciniak has to relinquish it. Alan Watts also back there. This has suddenly gone crazy in this group. Right now they have looks like Mark Rondeau, who's a lapped car, in amongst this group. So he's just trying to stay out of the way while they try to sort out the positions. Larry Haas, by the way, he went off just after he got overtaken, and that was down into turn 11 that he unfortunately braked a little bit too deep. Marciniak is going to decide to abandon this fight and go into pit lane.
Yeah, just 4 minutes before the halfway mark, and they use, oh dear, Mark Morales' engine. I think that's toast, I'm afraid, because that car is a far cry from the former sight it was. So we're going to have a check out of the replay on that one very shortly. Here we go, and it's Larry Haas goes straight on. Oh, hits the gravel and bang, straight into the barriers. Whoops.
Yeah, it's no wonder he had some damage on the front. I guess at the risk of angering some of Dylan Scott's friends and family, I guess Mark Morales has made his car into a Barbie.
Yeah, it's definitely smoking for the back end, that's for sure. Another replay coming up, as we're going to see. Now this is into the centre chicane, then into Wakefield Road. And
why did he stop?
Oh dear, what happened there? Oh, and that is why. Oh, that I never would have expected someone to have actually stopped coming out of the centre chicane at turn 2, and that was a big old hit. No wonder the engine's toast in his car.
Yeah, and especially with it being at the rear, that's the last place that you want contact in these cars. And I wonder, just to give him the benefit of the doubt, if maybe there was a technical issue with the computer and maybe he lost the monitor or something to that effect. But yeah, very unusual to see him come to a halt there on track. Blake Sams, what pressure has he been putting on Michael Bolton this entire race? Every time we glance back here, he is within about half a second of our leader.
We've seen that before from Blake, where, I mean, if anyone might remember, we did have on the opening round of the series at Spa, when they went in, you know, he basically took the lead when they went 3 wide. Interlagos, he went away and ran away with it. So Blake can not only just lead from the front, but he can also put pressure on those that are in front of him. So this is the battle for a race victory, let's not forget, folks, as we are just under 2 minutes away to half time here in this 40-minute encounter. So I think it's just a case of wait, be patient, let the race come to you, rather than, as we've seen earlier on in this race, going hell for leather and then finding at turn 1 at the centre chicane, you've ended up in the barriers.
For perspective here, you can see how tricky it is to thread that needle of the centre chicane, but Sams does it, although he loses some time to Bolton in the process, and now he goes a little deep down at Wakefield. The mistake suddenly coming out after it looked like he was the one that was in charge of the situation there just moments ago. It has been since round 2 since Blake Sams has stood atop the podium in this series, and some cars out the side of the road. That is Dylan Scott, our points leader, and John Momeyer, who had tangled apparently.
Oh dear. Oh, it's lightning has struck twice, but oh, thank goodness John Momeyer found the exit road rather than the barriers with the back end of the number 12. He was a very, very lucky individual there, Joe.
It was a very strange one. He backed it up and then he pulled a U-turn using both of the exit roads there. I've never seen that quite before. Marciniak, though, is still on the attack with Larry Haas. Christopher having already taken his pit stop, though. They are not on the same strategy. Let's see what happened between Dylan and Momeyer as he's on the chase. Oh, Momeyer just went wide, and poor Dylan was an innocent victim.
Oh, and Leiden Rondeau manages to get out of the way very, very quickly. Just puts the steering to the right, and Dylan tags the back end of the car, and then we see everyone else come. It's like, to me, to you, to me, to you, and like Dylan's like saying, "Come on, John, move, move, move! I need to go, I need to go." But it's just one of those things I did say about it. It was going to test everybody tonight. People such as Dylan, such as John. I mean, Dustin Heindel is not going to take any further part in this race because that car was an absolute mess after the incident we saw when Leiden Rondeau went straight on a Wakefield corner and Dustin was completely unsighted, missed his braking point, and he went barreling into the back end of the number 13. So, but as we could see by Blake Sams' onboard, Joe, the amount of bumpiness, the amount of undulation. We've got another replay coming up now as well. So this is going to be quite interesting. Mark Rondeau this time. And is it going to be, it's going to be at the same corner as we just saw with John Momeyer, but lucky enough, Mark keeps it out of the barriers, uses the escape road to do some uncertified donuts, and the left front fender tags the wall, points him in the right direction, and off he goes again.
And that was right in front of BJ Fulton that he pulled that U-turn, so he did a good job finding a gap, but probably gave BJ a bit of a scare seeing that car pop out from behind the barrier. By the way, BJ back up to 4th. Unfortunately, he's now 31 seconds behind the leader. It was 26 last time I checked, so he is losing a bit of time, though he is gaining places.
The interesting thing now, Joe, is with just over 18 and a quarter minutes remaining, Rob Leclerc is only 25.3 seconds behind race leader Michael Bolton. Now, bearing in mind, Robert we're on lap 16 at the moment. Robert went in on lap 3 and took 10.2 seconds worth of fuel in the car whilst we were having that safety car period. So maybe this might be the opportunity that Rob Leclerc has done the biggest undercut strategy in the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League so far this season on lap 3, and he's on lap 12 of this stint, whereas the leaders have been out for all 15 laps so far.
One thing I'm trying to rack my brains for is I remember one of the series, either POC or PCA, has a rule about, as we go side by side with Blake Sams trying to go for the lead. Is he able to get that one done? And he does. Michael Bolton has been demoted. Sams finally made his attack. Now, the point I was trying to make is I was trying to remember which league has a rule about not being allowed to pit under safety car, and I believe it's POC. So I'm not sure if Leclerc is going to be able to get away with this as it is, or if he'll wind up getting a penalty. If this is allowed, then yes, even if he does have to stop again, he is going to be so much shorter than the others.
Blake Sams just touched the wall off of turn 8 with the left rear fender. He was a very, very lucky individual, and now he's got back marker traffic to deal with in the form of Leiden Rondeau, who's running P10 at the minute. So Blake Sams was a very, very lucky individual going through turn 8. I mean, that wall can bite big time, but he just managed to feather that limit between being on the limit or being spun around and damaged and heading into the Brabham Straits on the right-hand side, heading into the wall. So now Blake Sams has got to look at, right, where can I pass Lydon Rondeau to make it safe for me, but also not give Michael Bolton the opportunity to go up the inside or go around the outside like we've seen previously, as they're going to head through into Flinders Street and then into Hutt Street before we go on to Bartels Road down the back straightaway. And that might be the opportunity that Blake Sams will need to try and get through, but it's not going to be easy. You've got to get the run out of turn 8 very, very shortly. Lydon Rondeau sees both cars, gets out of the way, exits stage right, so Blake Sams continues to lead as they head into turn 8 off of here at Bartels Road. You can just see the suspension rebound from the cars as they try and adhere to the circuit at breakneck speed and then head into De Quetzeville hairpin.
Great job by Lydon to see the situation and duck out of the way at a safe opportunity. Adam Abrams here with Chris Marciniak behind him and Jim Garamani just in front of him. This is for 6th position. Again, Chris has already taken his pit stop. He's back up to 8th spot right now. He's going to continue to get these positions as everybody ducks away to take their fuel in this race, which should be pretty soon, I believe. That I think we're getting to the end of the pit window, although he's under threat, says Adam Abrams, as Chris is not willing to wait that long. He nearly took him into turn 6.
Yeah, plus also the fact they've got Jim Garamani in the 163 just up ahead in 6th position. So did see that Larry Haas has taken his pit stop, 29.2 seconds total pit lane time, 7.6 seconds in pit road. As yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see what might happen. As to the inside, that's a dive and a half there, and Chris Marciniak makes it through for P7 ahead of Adam Abrams in the number 3. So Adam taking some different lines to what we're seeing. I think still trying to get his head around the circuit as Dylan Scott gets through on Mark Morales. That's the battle for P11. But what a disaster for the points leader on home soil as Morales goes sideways, trying to put the power down hard, and rear end was very much non-compliant on that.
Also worth noting that Michael Bolton has taken his pit stop and he remained in 2nd place. So it's looking very good for him. Once we get to closer to the end of this one, Abrams looks to have lost another spot there to Garamani, at least temporarily on our tower. So Bolton, you could see back out on track. It's about 27 seconds up to Blake Sams, but Sams still needs to come in for fuel, which he did not do this lap. He stayed out for at least one more.
Yeah. So with 13 minutes to go, yeah, this is going to be rather interesting, and it's dependent on obviously when Blake Sams decides to pit. BJ Fulton, new fastest race lap, 1:18.924. He is closing ever nearer to Robert Leclerc and Michael Bolton in the 3-way battle over P2 at the minute. So going to be interested to see here, Joe, who is able to manage their cars the best. I mean, you can see as they're going through certain parts of the circuit, and there's a lot of unseen undulation and bumpiness, and that's one of the big things. We've gone from one bumpy track at Sebring 2 weeks ago to here at Adelaide, and it's a street circuit, so even more of a emphasis on just trying to make sure that you make the setup as comfortably as humanly possible, so you're not overstepping the mark. You want to make sure that you still got a little bit of pace underneath you.
For sure, and right now BJ Fulton seems to have very good pace, as I think he still holds the fastest lap of the race right now at a 1:18.9. So he's flying, but I believe he still owes us a pit stop. And Blake Sams has a speeding penalty coming out of pit lane. That is pretty much his hope at a win over with. He took his pit stop. He came out well ahead of Michael Bolton, but he is his own undoing.
Yep. And he was right at the end of pit lane as well. So here's the replay. Oh, he's crossed now. Oh, yeah,
Oh, is it crossing the exit line instead?
I think it's crossing the exit line. It might have crossed the exit line inadvertently because there's that triangle bit of paint on there, and if you go past that, because he was trying to make it as close as he dare, but he went over the mark, I think, so that has given him the black flag, which will hand the lead back to Michael Bolton as Rob Leclerc going through turn 8 at a big rate of speed down and into Brabham, closing in on BJ Fulton. This is I thought there was going to be one track that might upset the apple cart, and it's ended up being here at round 6 at Adelaide here, Joe. I mean, Sebring was a great race, but this one has had so much drama happen, and mainly for the protagonists we've had, as we've got the replay of Leiden Rondeau, picture in picture, turns it in, back end steps down. Oh, he hits the wall with the right front.
There's Sam serving that penalty now. You talk about this upsetting the apple cart. It's been pretty Mad Max tonight, unfortunately, for a lot of drivers out there. And Sam's will return. It looks to be in about 4th place, although he's come into his pit stall. Now, I don't think it should have been a stop and go. So, I wonder if this is
a penalty. So,
yeah.
Unless there's been something unchecked.
I wonder if it's just miscommunication on his part that he didn't pay attention to that aspect of the information on the black flag. So he could still lose a spot. Alan Watts, though, is coming in right now, so he's not going to take the position. Marciniak will, as he goes by. There's Alan Watts, who has his own damage on the nose.
Oh, okay, so now, after sitting still in his pit box for nearly 41 seconds, he returns after 1 minute and 2 seconds in the pit lane, Joe. And that is that black flag moment has just ripped away what would have been another race win as he dives to the inside of the number 12, and that is of John Momair, who's currently sitting down in 13th position. But BJ Fulton now gets through on Chris Marciniak through into the centre chicane at turns 1 and 2. Now he's got a 2.7 second gap that he's got to try and close on into Michael Bolton with 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. And out of our 2 on the front row, BJ Fulton, who put it on pole position, you know, after that early drama that he had to, you know, he went into the pits. He's been in the pits twice, so people might be thinking, how on God's green earth has this man managed to get up back to P2? Well, he's just decided, right, okay, what's happened at the beginning of the race has happened. I've just got to reset and go into race mode, and that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, and he's done a great job, but I don't think it's going to be this close by the end, because remember, his stop was only 1.1 seconds, which says probably simply took his free repair and was not able to take the fuel that he needed to get to the end. So he will have to come back in a second time, and we'll see where he comes out once that is done with. Michael Bolton still up at the front here and leading again. Could take the championship lead by the end of this race. Here's another replay on Leiden Rondeau. He has had an adventurous race, and this one was a huge smash coming into turn 7. And I wonder if that was enough that he is now out of this race.
The same place where we saw the drama involving Dylan Scott and John Momair a few laps ago, didn't we? Same corner, same place, and oh no, oh dearie me, Alan Watts has dropped it at the same corner. This has been a tough track to get their heads around here, Joe, because it's been, you know, everyone's had to have their head on a swivel all the way through the race, and it's been hard going. And what I mean by that, folks, is that this has been the most did you see that? Through turn 8, Dylan Scott dives at the last moment possible through turn 8, down the Brabham straight into the Kettville hairpin, and launches a move up the inside of Jim Garamani to take away P8. it's just been, it's a very physical track. You know, your head is on a swivel. You've got no room to breathe apart from going out of Hutt Street into Bartels Road. And then you've got to take a deep breath, hold on, let your knuckles go white on the steering wheel as you go right into turn 8.
So that will not just promote Dylan up into P8, but P7, thanks to Adam Abrams needing to take his scheduled pit stop. So points now being gained with every position. Once you get to 10th place, every spot up from there gains you at least 1 point or more. And he has ever more motivation to push his way to the front. Alan Watts, the next one in front of him. So I think Dylan has the pace to at least get that before this is over. 32 seconds up to Blake Sams. That's going to be a different story.
Yeah, because he's got Alan Watts right in front of him. And Alan still keeps the hammer down, but it's going to be very, very close. Dylan's going to take every opportunity he can here in the next 5.5 minutes as they come through out of turn 8 down the Brabham Straight, and then we're going to see a repeat, possibly, no, not quite, what we saw a lap ago when Dylan centred up the inside of Jim Garamani. So there's still an opportunity for Dylan to exercise as much damage limitation as humanly possible. If he can get past Alan Watts, that's a good amount of points in P6, but then after that it's going to be a big mountain to climb, because it's like 34 seconds up to Blake Sams, who now is in P5 and is closing in on Chris Marciniak for 4th in the meantime.
And I fear that Blake Sams may have cost himself even more pain with that penalty that he served, because drive-throughs, the way it works in iRacing, if you just do the drive-through, it works as normal. But if you take service in your pit stall, it assumes that you're trying to save time with a pit stop. So because he took service, then it adds time in your pit stop, penalty time, to make sure that you take the pain that you're supposed to get. Is Alan Watts is making life a little bit scary for a few people, but eventually he points it the right way.
Especially, well, more for himself, because that's 2 spins in the last 2 laps. Mark Morales is trying to make his way back up the order to a point, as he was running as high as P3 before that unfortunate incident that he had coming out of the centre chicane. But Blake Sams now closing in. He's got that gap down to what was 4/10 than what was a 2.5 seconds just a few moments ago. Looking at the last lap time, we took 1.5 seconds out of Chris Marciniak, so Blake has been one of the fastest pedallers around the circuit, probably one of the top 3 around the circuit here at Adelaide. So it's you know, and now we're going to see it happen. Blake Sams hard on the gas, and through he goes. I think Chris Marciniak knew that his race was not going to be about him racing Blake Sams as they go through turn 8, and you can just see how committed Blake is. There was not a lift through that corner.
Brave stuff here. It's a bit of a shame, because I think this is an opportunity missed for Blake Sams to get another win, make his 3rd of the season, unless something really dramatic happens to a lot of cars in front of him. That's just not on the cards. When will we see BJ Fulton in, though? We're 3 minutes left. Did he have a pit stop for fuel that we also didn't notice? Because surely he shouldn't have been able to get this far.
Yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing is, Joe, is that his first stop was for a spare car, and on our timing, it's showing that he has done 2 pit stops. So, which is weird. I can't make heads or tails of it myself either. So, yeah, it's a tough one to say on that.
So, okay, so here's my theory then. I wonder if he took fuel at the first one, but I'm pretty sure that was during the yellow flag, which again, I'm pretty sure that's against their rules, that you have to take your stop during the green, because they want to prevent any sort of, shenanigans like this. And then he took a second stop to get that last little bit of fuel to get to the end, which is only 1 second. So that to me kind of puts the pieces together, but that's just a theory. Whatever the case, it has put him within the shout of a possible win with only 1.5 seconds up to Michael Bolton.
Yeah, and with Dylan Scott now currently in P6, that means that there's going to be a bit of a change around with regards to how the standings look at this particular point. BJ Fulton was only 3 points behind, and that will make him effectively, if it stands, the new. Well, it might be close between him and Michael Bolton for the lead of the standing. So Dylan Scott will probably find himself, I think, in P3. So we'll wait until what happens when round 7 comes around in a fortnight's time.
And that should be the white flag that he just went past now, because I think it was less than a minute 19, which is some of the quickest laps around here. If he can survive just one more lap, Michael Bolton should get his first win of the season after 3 podiums, 3 third places so far in the first 5 rounds. And he has grabbed opportunity with both hands when it presented itself, albeit sometimes you do have to get lucky like this to win in racing, and I don't think he's going to look that gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah, so it has been confirmed as the final lap on the live timing. But yeah, I mean, Michael Bolton, he weathered the storm through the centre chicane on the opening lap when we went to green 40 minutes ago, and he's made the best of the opportunity. He hasn't really put a foot wrong. He's just kept a calm head on cool shoulders. It's not always about going, as I said earlier on, to the limit here. You know, he's shown that patience can reward those that put that into their mindset, and that's what you've got to do here at Adelaide.
And that is what he has done with wonderful results as he comes to the final hairpin. Michael Bolton is going to win at the first race in Adelaide for the Porsche Owners Club Series. BJ Fulton recovers to second place as Robert Leclerc, I think almost somewhat quietly, has put himself onto the podium in that number 10. Blake Sams, actually, I just saw maybe was involved with another car in an incident at turn 7.
Oh.
I wonder if we can turn the cameras to him.
Yeah, well, also, Chris Marciniak has yet to cross the line either, and here is Blake Sams. So, let's see. So, yeah, there's a bit of damage to the front of the car. There's... Oh, no. Oh, dear. Adam Abrams and Alan Watts coming together. Oh! And then, all of a sudden, that was Adam Abrams coming into shot. But, yeah, it's the one that got away from Blake Sams, folks, I'm afraid, and he's going to cross the line. So I'm wondering if there might have been a little bit of contact possibly between him and Chris Marciniak. Marciniak comes out of the final corner. And, yeah, it's... I think that's probably whatever damage that has happened to the front of Blake Sams' car might have been a bit of insult to injury. We've got a replay coming up now. So, right, Adam Abrams... The front right is hanging off of the uprights, and I think very shortly we're going to see Blake Sams. Here he comes. Adam Abrams on the wheel spins the wheels. Oh, and bang, straight in goes Blake Sams, and
that might count as an unsafe rejoin. Just call me crazy on that.
All I'm going to say is that car should have been towed.
Yeah. Well, last lap, so it won't have to go too far, and you'll see the checkers. But regardless, what a run by Michael Bolton, who took the victory here today over BJ Fulton in the end. Only a second and a half between them. Robert Leclerc was P3, with Blake Sams coming home in 4th. After that, Chris Marciniak, P5, and shockingly, last car on the lead lap here today. That's how much attrition we had. Dylan Scott was P6, Mark Morales in 7th, with Alan Watts P8. Jim Garamani was 9th, and Larry Haas was 10th. Then from there, you get, I think, just maybe 1 or 2 cars that actually got to the finish. Abrams, we saw his woes there with Momar Rondeau, Leiden Rondeau, and Mark Rondeau, along with Dustin Heindel, retiring a little bit early today. Looks like we've got Michael Bolton ready to chat with us. Let's see how he's feeling. Michael, congratulations. You saw the leaders wind up coming together on the very first lap. You find yourself in the lead afterwards. Was it all right, let's get down to business from there, or is there a little bit of nerves?
What's up, Joe Peak? Definitely a little Tiesto. Let's get down to business. I had to put my head down and just Stay out of these walls, because it's, as Mark Rondeau would say, it was a meet and greet here, and it was tough to keep the car clean. Every time we went through the high-speed kink, I'm like, I hope I have enough room on the inside. I hope I have enough room on the outside. It feels really good, though, to take the top step of the podium today.
Absolutely. Your first of this season. Talk about having to navigate lap traffic as well. We expected to see some because it is such a short lap, but it seems like all the problems that other cars had, there was no room for being completely by yourself. Everybody was coming across somebody at some point.
Yeah, the lap traffic wasn't too bad. There was a couple times coming through some corner exits, you would see headlights of a Porsche, which is never a good sign. But I think for the most part, the traffic was good. They got out of the way. And, I have to give it up to Blake and to BJ. I mean, he's always so quick, especially with the pit stop strategies and stuff that he does. I'm just, yeah, it's a tough track with not a ton of experience for any of us. And the lap traffic definitely made it a little tricky at times, but yeah, overall, shout out to the POC and to the guys for keeping it clean, at least with me. And then yeah, P1 and 2, it's unfortunate for them. I know Dylan was trying to take one home here at his home race, but it's okay. Get it on the next one. I know he will.
Yeah, he'll get some other opportunities. But speaking of opportunities, we get to breathe a little bit. You'll have some runoff next time at the Hungaroring. How do you feel you do over there?
Love that track. Michael Johnson and I have done a lot of coaching, as you probably know there. So I'm gonna probably give him a ring and get back out there, and yeah, I think we'll crush it there. I want to give a big shout out to my wife. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, babe. My parents and family, our 2 pups, Jefferson and Hamilton, and the POC, and of course GSRC. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Michael. That is a very understanding wife, letting him race on her birthday. A very happy birthday to her.
Definitely.
So that was our winner, Michael Bolton. And in the meantime, Alex, I think you've caught up with second place BJ Fulton.
Yeah, someone who got into the mire on turn 1 but made it work, came flying back through the field. BJ Fulton joins us. I mean, BJ, let's talk about what happened in turn 1. I mean, you and Dylan going side by side. It was always going to be unstoppable force versus a movable object. Just talk us through it through your perspective, because you had the inside line for the first corner starting on pole.
Yeah, I just can't see how you can get through there side by side, honestly. I feel like I went so slow, but, then with cold tires too, it's just so hard. And we both kind of bounced off the curbs, I think, into each other. I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's probably my fault. I might get a penalty for that one, but, you win some, you lose some.
But still, nevertheless, I think one of the best recovery drives we've seen all season here in 2026. You make it up to second, only 1.4 seconds behind Michael. I mean, we did see that it looks like you took one of the spare cars just to make sure the car's at full strength, because you need it round here at Adelaide. But with the first pit stop, was it just a case of, okay, let's get the fuel on board early so I don't have to worry about it later on and just go hell for leather and see what I can make out of it?
Yeah, basically. So I did one pit stop under yellow, but according to the rules, you have to pit under the green as well. So I got all my fuel there, and then I just decided to pit like the next lap when I was, in battles going to the field. I just figured it's better to just get my, stop and go over with at that point, and then work my way up in clean air. And I think it really worked out. Leclerc did a great job with that too.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Robert getting a P3, but still, I mean, it's been the toughest test. I mean, for everybody here at the POC. I mean, how many hours did you spend behind the wheel getting ready for tonight's race?
Honestly, not enough. Maybe only a couple. Yeah, I wish I had spent some more. But it was a lot of fun. I do know this track from some other sims. I've been on here before, just never at iRacing. But I do like iRacing's model of it. It's very nice.
And, well, still, this puts you at the sharp end of the field when it comes to the standings, because obviously Dylan ended up finishing P6. Before we let you go, BJ, anyone you want to thank in particular?
Yeah, let me just thank the iRacing gods for not letting it rain tonight, because that would have been way worse than it already was.
Brilliant. Thank you, BJ, for your time. We'll see you next time out when we go to the Hungaroring in 2 weeks.
Yep, thanks. See you then.
So that was BJ Fulton finishing P2. That's a clever way to get around the rule that I was talking about. I hadn't considered that aspect of it. So that wraps us up for Australia. And as we mentioned, we'll be heading elsewhere soon. But before we get there, we want to mention our sponsors, which includes Porsche, because there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Top Gun MG, helping financial advisors be the best of the best. Contact them at TopGunMG.com. Thanks to the team today with Daniel, as well as Alex and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And like we said, it's off to the Hungaroring for the next round. That'll be April 6th at 11 p.m. Eastern. However, we have more Porsche racing coming soon on the channel. The Porsche Esports Carrera Cup North America is going to Miami. That will be on Porsche's channel proper, but be sure to check out our other broadcasts that will be coming up soon. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.